Welcome back. We're going to get into player death, meaning killing your player when he gets hit enough. But before we do that, a little bonus round here, something to think about as you were coding the events around the missile strikes. You could have said, when any in-class missile is sensing collided with object, any from within the player group, do the affected object from the player class should play the event, meaning the impact event, the bang thing. And if you did that, you'll notice that each ship explodes when it fires each time. And it's because the missile detects the missile launch as an impact on itself. And this is an interesting example of how you can start to make understandable errors in your code. And the confusion that can arise between when to use a master object like missile 1 versus the class called missile. And the answer is you want to use a master object to differentiate from the overall class, because otherwise, any missile in the class will trigger the effect, and that means anyone launching a missile will trigger the impact effect, and that doesn't make any sense. So I recommend kind of messing around with the code a little bit. You can always undo stuff. There is an undo button in the system. That's how you learn. So a little bonus round there. Let's go ahead now and add some life meters to our scene. We've got to start measuring the impact of being hit by a missile. So how do we do that? We add a life meter from interface and text under the plus button there. You're going to call it life 1. And under appearance, you're going to make it not solid. Gee, why do we want our life meter not solid? Well, because then the ships would bang up against the life meter and would be stuck. That would be unfortunate. Your life meter will measure from 0 to 3. What happens if you add more than 3? Well, clearly you'll live longer, and that's your call, but I just said 0 to 3. You can kind of mess with the size of these things. If you don't want to deal with it, just leave them the way they are for now. You can always tweak it later. Once you've configured life meter 1, you do the old copy trick, rename the second one life 2, and you kind of put life 2 on the top, in my case, top right. Life 1 is top left, sort of configures with the control pad, right? So player 1 is controlled on the left. His life meter should go on the left. Player 2 is controlled on the right. Kind of makes sense to put the life meter there. That's why I did it that way. You could kind of do it other ways too, but that's what you're going to go ahead and do. And then once you've added your life meters, let's start draining the life meter. And that's a code thing. Life meter is stupid. It doesn't really belong to anything right now until you tell it to. So in the event manager, you're going to go back to your existing events, right? You have 2, one for player 1, one for player 2 when they're hit. Remember, you're running an effect. You're playing an explosion sound when a missile hits. Now you're going to do a new thing. You're going to add one more line that says the life meter's score bar will subtract 1. And so now all we're doing is we're subtracting from these life meters. So you can go ahead and do that. And then finally, you're going to need to add our win text to the scene. And right now, you can just dump it in the scene. Don't worry about where it is. It doesn't matter. We're going to clean it all up at the end. But from interface and text, add a text box. I would recommend naming it win text so you know what the hell that thing is in the event manager. It's not going to be solid. Same reason. Don't want to be banging into your win text. Doesn't make sense for it to be solid. For now, I just literally write win text in the field. We'll replace that with new text when someone wins. And I tinted it just red and red. And I use this font called Bauhaus 24, a little space-like font. So that's why I picked that. Feel free to pick a different font. Kind of scale it to make it big. It might seem kind of small on your screen, so you click or drag, make it bigger. And then add a move towards behavior to this thing. I know it sounds weird, but that's the mechanic of we're going to bring it from off scene eventually. And just set it to active is off, and the object is the black hole. That's where it's going to move towards. And just go ahead and do all of that, and then we'll regroup in a minute and do a little bit of coding. Thanks.